Now, as a Palestinian clergy in Bethlehem, I'm not able to go to Jerusalem to pray. For example, German Christians who visit Jerusalem all the time, travel freely from Bethlehem and Jerusalem. Ich habe Deutsch in Schule gelernt. They have dealt with their own history of anti-Semitism. They think the way to do it is to support Zionism, and we always challenge them. How can you fight racism in your context by supporting racism in another context?
We can say Assalamu alaikum to you, right?
Of course. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alhamdulillah. So the Christians in Palestine, they say Assalamu alaikum as well?
Of course, of course.
Okay.
And we speak Arabic. We're part of the Arabic culture.
You sometimes say Allah as well to God?
Allah is the only word we use for God. We worship Allah. And it's common, of course, not just in our prayers, but in our daily language. Yeah.
Okay, because for some people in Germany, it's not understandable. They think Allah is only for Muslims.
Yeah, people ask me this question sometimes, and especially from the West. And I respond by saying, how many gods are there? It's only one God, one Allah. And maybe in different religions we understand God in different ways. We have our differences, but at the end of the day, there is one God. And Allah is the name we use, or the way we refer to God as Arabs.
My first question for you is, as a Christian who lives in Bethlehem, this is a very special city, especially for Christians, and the majority is Christian there. Do they face anything like the Muslims in Palestine, or is it easier for you to live there?
It's not easier than anybody else. So let's clear some misconceptions. It's not a religious conflict. And it's not a conflict between Jews and Muslims and where Christians are caught in between. I suffer from the policies of Israel. I suffer from the occupation and from the policies of apartheid in Israel as a Palestinian. Because Zionism as a movement that is now the state of Israel targets and does not differentiate between all Palestinians. To them, all Palestinians are the same. If you look at the history in the last 76 years, from the very beginning of the Zionist movement, in the Nakba, the Palestinian catastrophe, Palestinian Christians, like all Palestinians, lost towns, villages, churches were closed. There are estimated to be 50,000 Palestinian Christians became refugees. We lost a lot in the Nakba as a Christian community, but of course as part of the Palestinian people. In other words, there is no difference. And throughout history, you know, in my small church, we have people whose land is confiscated. We have people who were imprisoned, people who are harassed. All of us go through the checkpoints. And even for me now as a Palestinian clergy in Bethlehem, I'm not able to go to Jerusalem to pray. And just think of that. Jerusalem is literally 15 minutes away from where I live.
But why? Why you're not allowed?
Because Israel separated Bethlehem from Jerusalem through a wall. This is the first time in history. I mean, we've had many occupations, sadly, in Palestine. But this is the first time in history Jerusalem and Bethlehem are separated. There is a big wall and a checkpoint from Bethlehem to Jerusalem. The vast majority of Palestinians are not allowed to cross that checkpoint. Only those who have worked in Jerusalem in international organizations. Before the war, it was more possible for some to obtain a permit from the military to cross the border to work. So before the war, I was able to go cross the border to pray in Jerusalem as a clergy. Right now, I'm no longer able to. You have a whole generation of Palestinians from Bethlehem, including Palestinian Christians, who have not seen Jerusalem. Because in Europe, you have, for example, German Christians who visit Jerusalem all the time, travel freely from Bethlehem and Jerusalem. Maybe what they don't realize is that a whole generation of Palestinians and Palestinian Christians have never been to Jerusalem, have never even prayed in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, Al-Qiyamah, or the Muslims have never prayed in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. This is our tragedy right now in Palestine.
That means it's easier for a Christian out of Palestine to visit the holy places than for a Christian who actually is beside the holy places.
Yes, and not only that, it's also, remember that the vast majority of Palestinians and Palestinian Christians actually, or the majority of us, live outside in the diaspora and are prevented from returning to Palestine because of Israel. So Israel wouldn't allow my relatives, my aunt who lives in Lebanon, she wishes she could visit. But Israel controls the border, and this is part of our experience as Palestinians in diaspora. But yes, a German Christian pastor can bring a delegation of German Christians, travel freely, pray in Bethlehem in Jerusalem without any harassment in a nice tourist bus, while the Palestinian Christians who live in Bethlehem themselves are not able or allowed to pray in Jerusalem.
Do you see the difference between a Muslim and a Christian in Palestine, or in Bethlehem or in other cities? Because I am Palestinian originally, you are Palestinian, more original than me. So I'm born in Germany, and when you look at me maybe and I walk in Palestine, you think maybe I'm a Palestinian, but you don't know if I'm Christian or Muslim. So when there are so many Christians in Bethlehem, do you recognize the difference between a Christian and a Muslim directly as a Palestinian?
I think many times I feel in the West, when people hear or think of Palestinian Christians as a minority, they think of us as an ethnic minority, as if we're a distinct group with different habits, different language, different culture, who live in separate areas. But this is not our reality in Palestine. We're part of the Palestinian people. We're Arabs. We've been living side by side with Muslims for more than 1,400 years. We're not an ethnic minority. So you won't be able to tell the difference between a Christian or a Muslim. And in fact, you come to our schools, even the Christian schools, you have Christians and Muslims in the same class. I dare you to tell who's a Christian, who's a Muslim. There's no way you can tell. We're part of everything together. Many times people ask me, how's your relationship with your Muslim neighbors? I say they're exactly that, neighbors. We play football together. We are business partners. We're in the same schools. And most importantly, right now, we're in the same struggle for our justice and to end the occupation.
So it even unifies you more as Christians and Muslims against Zionism?
When you are going through injustice, it definitely unifies you more. And it brings a common cause to what we are doing. Maybe as we speak, let me introduce you to my friend, Muhannad.
Okay, your friend.
Muhannad is a Palestinian also from Bethlehem, from Dohesha camp.
Yeah.
The only way you could tell Muhannad is a Muslim and I'm a Christian is because I have a collar.
Yeah,
so
that's
he's a Muslim?
Yes.
You are Christian, but you are Palestinian from the same area.
Exactly. Yeah, we live together, we share everything, and we don't see differences between us. Only when people observe from the outside, they say, "Are you Muslim? Are you Christian?" But when we live the daily life, we go to the same university, same schools. We share, life together and the struggle together.
And now I have one last question. I have heard that you speak German. Du kannst Deutsch reden?
Ein bisschen. That's a secret.
Ich darf du sagen, ne? Darf ich du sagen? Du?
Du.
Nicht sie. Es gibt ja du und sie. Darf ich
Ja,
du
ja.
sagen zu dir?
Ja, natürlich.
Ja, MashaAllah, die Reaktion. Seit wann kannst du, woher?
Ich habe Deutsch in Schule gelernt. In Bethlehem, es gibt lutherische Schule und dort wir lernen Deutsch. So, ich habe Deutsch vor 7 Jahren gelernt, aber habe ich alles vergessen.
Aber ich muss sagen, das ist sehr gut.
Ich verstehe, aber es kommt zurück vielleicht. If I go to Germany, es kommt zurück vielleicht.
Warum nicht? Inshallah, warum nicht? Dann, wie ist Ihre Erfahrung mit Deutschen? Haben Sie gute oder auch schlechte Erfahrungen gemacht mit Deutschen? Die Sie
we have amazing German friends. We have friends who we've been friends for years, in touch. They come and visit us. Church leaders who understand our struggle. We have advocates for justice and peace in Germany. But of course, we have many who still don't understand our struggle. And we have still many who bring their own context of Germany, their own experience with racism and anti-Semitism, and expect or assume that this is our problem. So they have exchanged their, they have dealt with their own history of anti-Semitism. They think the way to do it is to support Zionism. And we always challenge them, how can you fight racism in your context by supporting racism in another context? What we try to explain to our German Christian friends all the time is that the Zionism they support has become a very racist ideology and an ideology of apartheid. And I know they might not like this, but this is the fact. So this speaks volumes because at the one hand, they claim they are repenting from their history of anti-Semitism, but they're doing so at our expense by supporting another racist ideology.
And good experience? Do you have good experience?
We have many good experiences, of course. We have friends, partners. I belong to the Lutheran tradition, and as a result, we've built many friendships over the years. Many pastors come and visit us. Sometimes, you know, it translates into advocacy in Germany. Other times, it remains just friendship because, you know, the context in Germany is very challenging. And to be honest, it frustrates us sometimes that many of our friends are not speaking loud enough. We experienced this in the last war on Gaza. We thought that many of our friends will speak even louder because there is a genocide. So it's a good relationship, but many times we challenge one another, and we will continue to challenge our German friends.
Okay, vielen Dank. Shukran.
Shukran, vielen Dank.
Und auf Wiedersehen auf Deutsch auch?
Ja, tschüss, if you wish.
Tschüss. MashaAllah, okay, sehr gut. Aber nächstes Mal sehen wir uns in Deutschland, inshallah.
Inshallah. Ja,
okay, sehr gut. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum.